Hello, kids. I invited the Taylor children here today because they bested me in combat. Well, it was a minute to win a game, but Robin has been out. If you haven't noticed, I've been having to do all this on my own. Unfortunately, Robin is in the hospital. He laid an egg, and he's recovering. I'm currently looking for another sidekick. I'm looking at these children because, frankly, they're the best. So, as I talked about Batcave, I mentioned my gadgets, and I thought to start with, I would show some of the gadgets here today. Would you like to see them?
Yeah!
Now, here we go. I have my grapple gun.
Whoa, that looks really cool. Also, it sounds cool.
Of course it does. Every Batman gadget sounds, looks, and is cool. This allows me to grapple to tall buildings, skyscrapers.
Oh, whoa, that's really cool.
Thank you. Do you want to see what else?
Yeah.
I have this.
Whoa, what is it? Yeah, what is it?
Well,
Whoa.
it's a light sword. I got this from Nightwing
Whoa.
as a Christmas gift.
Aren't all Batman's gadgets black?
Yes, Nightwing, ever since he left being Robin, he gave me a white elephant gift. Literally white. You want to see what else?
Yeah.
Of course, you can't go without nunchucks.
Whoa. Wait, is that all?
Of course not. I have nunchucks.
Whoa. What?
This might just look like plain rope, but it's actually a little trick I got from Wonder Woman's Lasso of Truth. So, when I tie up bad guys, it also has a truth serum that gives me all the truth that I need.
Huh, is that all? Because that's a lot of gadgets.
Yeah.
Batman has many
More.
gadgets. Of course, shark repellent.
Why do you need shark repellent?
Why don't you need shark repellent? You never know what situation you may be in. For all I know, Robin and I could be escaping onto a helicopter in the middle of an ocean as a shark comes and grabs on. Then I could grab one of these, spray it on the shark, and it'd swim away.
Is that all?
Is that all? Yeah.
Really?
But probably
Healing ointment.
Whoa, you can heal yourself and other people.
Martian Manhunter and Superman helped me develop this little bad boy.
Okay, that has to be all.
What?
I have a mini Batman signal.
Whoa.
I can give this to one of the people helping me, and then when they seek out some of the bad guys, they can light this bad boy up, and I'll come to the rescue.
That's cool.
I believe that's all you have, right?
No. Binoculars.
Whoa.
They're also turned to night vision binoculars, because I do my best work in the dark.
Yeah.
And I guess you're right. Seems to be it.
No, that's more.
You're right. There is more. Walkie-talkies for any occasion.
Whoa. Okay, that has to be.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
too much.
That's just some of my stuff.
Wait, what? What?
I've got more.
Whoa.
Slingshot.
Whoa. Wait, you could walk out this.
Smoke bomb.
Whoa.
At the push of a button, it's also a flashbang.
Ooh.
sanitizer when I go to the grocery store. A whistle looks like any ordinary whistle, right?
Yeah.
Wrong. When I blow this whistle, it makes people deaf and paralyzed within a 10-block radius.
No, wait. No! It makes us deaf.
Oh, I wasn't thinking of that. Regular watch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrong. This is a communication device.
Ooh, that's cool.
And
one of those.
a light stick.
Whoa.
Oh, so then when you're stuck in the dark?
I actually give these out to the bad guys. Makes them feel a little bit better as I trace them in the dark and run them down. All right.
Is that all? Well, what if you don't have any gadgets though?
I always have gadgets. Look at this.
Candy?
I make it look like candy. This,
Kryptonite?
exactly. Just in case the man
Superman?
in blue ever turns bad, I've got a way to get it to him.
What if you don't have any weapons?
I always have gadgets.
I mean, like, no weapons at all.
I'll go to the Batcave and get more.
No, what if you had nothing?
I haven't thought of that. Well, I wouldn't like it, but I guess I'd ask Superman for help.
No!
What?
Nothing. Hey, no people, no houses, just ground.
I might not have the best answer for that, but I think your father might. I think if you go find him, he'll tell you a little story.
Okay. We're going downstairs.
Thank you guys for tuning in again this week. Always come prepared to everything you do, even kryptonite. Well, have you been preparing? Have you been praying? Remember, our prayer challenge this week is to pray for all the workers out there, grocery store workers and essential workers that have been providing for us. Pray that they stay well and safe for their families and themselves. Pray also that as they continue to work, that they are safe, healthy, and anybody that they encounter, they can be a blessing to. And remember, if you haven't been doing the memory verse, you need to be prepping yourself with that as well. Psalm 34:14 says, "Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it." And don't forget, I have another Batman challenge for you. Your leader sent comic book pages and coloring pages to you. If you design your best comic book or color your best coloring, post it to Facebook. I'll be watching, and whoever does the best job, I'll be delivering an art set to your house next week. You have until this Saturday to show me your best work, and I'll be coming Sunday. Thank you. Goodbye.
Daddy.
What?
Batman asked us if
What?
we wanted
Wait,
to.
Batman asked you? How did you talk to Batman?
He showed us his gadgets so we could be a sidekick.
What? What?
Yeah.
Showed us his gadgets.
When?
Today,
Today?
Where was I?
at work.
So he showed up And he showed you his gadgets?
Yeah.
But I wanted to see his gadgets. And he wants you to
Be a sidekick.
but I've been like training and working really hard to be
It's okay. You could be.
And and we asked
to
Batman
be your
if
sidekick.
if we asked Batman if what if he had no gadgets and nothing?
Yeah.
What did he say?
And he said you had a story.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. He said,
About him having no gadgets?
yeah.
Like
I don't have any story about him.
no,
He doesn't even want me to be a sidekick.
nothing.
Like you had a story from the Bible.
Oh.
That he hadn't.
So he does want to use me.
And that had nothing. No one time.
Okay,
That's a lot.
I think
A
I
big.
do know a story from the Bible. I'll share. Okay. So, guys, if you have not heard of Daniel, have you heard of Daniel before?
Yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Do you know the life that Daniel lived?
No.
So Daniel lived with his family in Israel when he was a kid, but when he became a teenager, Israel got captured, got conquered by Babylon, and he was captured and sent to Babylon. Do you know why they sent him there?
No.
They wanted him to learn Babylon culture so that they could send him back when he was an adult, and they would have their own follower of Babylon. He took him. King Nebuchadnezzar was the king at the time from Babylon. So King Nebuchadnezzar wanted Daniel and his friends to do things that were not of God. And Daniel, his whole life, he refused. And he was blessed in a lot of ways because of that. But he also had to be taken from his entire family and lived in a foreign land. And he didn't have any control of what he got to do each day. But he had a heart for the people, and he had a heart for God, and no matter what happened, he chose that he was going to follow God. One of the examples was they ate a lot of meat, and Daniel wanted to follow after God, and he couldn't eat some of the meats that they had. So Daniel asked if he could eat the fruits and veggies, and the guard said, if you don't eat this diet that the Babylons eat, I will be killed. And Daniel said, give me a few days, and he just had a certain amount of time, and he said, I guarantee if the food that I eat doesn't make me stronger and better than the others, then I will not eat it. Well, Daniel ate the fruits and veggies, and after that time period, Daniel was stronger and better than all the other people that were eating the meat. And there was other times that Daniel was asked to do things that would not have him follow after God, and he refused. And so, one of the times, what happened was, and this is a really cool story, Daniel was a really old guy. We don't exactly know how old, but he was like 60 to 80 years old at this time, and he had lived in Babylon his whole life, and he'd follow after God. And he became such a trusted person that the king, it's a new king at this time, he trusted Daniel's advice and Daniel's opinions. And the other people, the other officials and people in those positions, they didn't like Daniel because they wanted that power. And Daniel didn't use it as power. He used it to benefit God and his part in living a life for God. Well, these people, they looked at every single thing about Daniel's life, and do you know what was really cool about it?
What?
They couldn't find anything to get Daniel on. They were trying to find something wrong that Daniel did, and they couldn't find any wrong. You know what? David was called a man after God's own heart, and David did wrong. Did you know that Moses was God's like first priest, and Moses did wrong? Did you know that Noah did wrong? Isn't that crazy? There's a lot of people that followed God and did wrong. And I'm not saying that Daniel didn't do wrong, but these men couldn't find anything to accuse Daniel of doing. And so they decided the best thing that they could do to get to Daniel and get him out of the picture was they were going to use God against Daniel. How could they do that, you think? Well, they went to the king and they said, "King, you are such a great and mighty king. Let's make a decree that everybody will make this statue and everybody has to worship this statue. And they can no longer worship any other god but this statue." And the king's like, "Oh yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that." And so they made the statue. And the first day that it happened, Daniel heard about it and he went and he prayed to his God. He prayed to God, the true God, like he always does. And those officials, guess what they did? They caught him praying to God. And they brought him to the king and they said, "King, Daniel was praying to a God that was not your statue. Daniel, by your own decree, has to be thrown in a lion's den." Do you know what a lion's den was?
It's where lions are.
Have you ever seen a zoo? Been to a zoo?
Yeah.
Yes. Have you gone to the lions area?
Yeah.
Well, this lion's den, they would purposely starve lions, make them so hungry and stuff that they would use that den. It was a big cave, and anybody that did wrong, they would throw in there. What do you think the lions would do?
Eat them.
Yeah. So the king actually liked Daniel, and he didn't want Daniel to have to go to the lion's den, but he had signed the decree and there was nothing he could do. And the king had to put Daniel into the lion's den. And when he did, he apologized to Daniel. That's how much Daniel was respected, that the own king of Babylon felt sorry that he put Daniel in the lion's den. And the king went to his palace and he had a terrible night of sleep. He couldn't sleep at all. And he actually didn't eat any food because he was so worried about Daniel being in the lion's den. And when he woke up, he ran over to the lion's den to see, and he said, "Daniel, Daniel, are you still there? Has your God saved you?" And Daniel yelled back, "Yes, an angel came and shut the mouths of all the lions." And so Daniel was a man that had nothing. He didn't have any gadgets. He didn't have any family. They were all in Israel. He didn't have any friends at that time because those officials were after him. He hadn't even done any wrong. And he was put in a place that he had no way to defend himself. Did he have any gadgets like Batman would have?
No.
No. He didn't have any lion spray or anything like that.
No.
He was put in this cave in a dark place, surrounded by enemies that were ready to devour him, and he survived. How?
Because of God.
Because of God. You know what, guys? We're going through a lot of stuff with this quarantine, and we're having to deal with quite a bit of things that we've never thought we would have to deal with. But we don't have a life like Daniel did. We aren't taken from our family and forced to not be able to worship God. We still get the ability to worship God even in our homes, and we get to see our friends through the internet in different ways, and we get to have church that way. So we should be really lucky that we have the rights to be able to worship God. And you know what? If we stick to trusting God, no matter what's going on, then God will be there for us, especially when it matters. Do you think if Daniel wasn't following after God his whole life, that he'd have the same result in the lion's den?
Yeah.
You think he'd still be survived? We don't know. We don't know. But because Daniel followed after God, God rewarded him for that. And it actually got the king to believe in that there was a true God. That's pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
So even when things don't go our way, if we trust God no matter what, he will be there for us. You know what happened to those officials that tried to get Daniel out of the picture? What do you think happened to them?
Got thrown in the lion's den.
And we'll leave it at that. Good story?
Yeah.
I've heard Daniel in the lion's den, but I've never heard the story. I've only heard
Yeah. Now you know it, and now you know that you can trust who?
God.
Good job. Thanks for listening, guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Batman.